The questions about a campaign by a major church in this country that appeared to attempt to restrict our First Amendment rights of free speech, the So We Might See campaign, an arm of the United Church of Christ, partnering with ethnocentric special interest groups to pressure the federal government to rein in, for example, radio talk show hosts claiming they spread so-called hate speech. Jeffrey Lord is a member of that church, and he, as a member of the church, became quite interested in it and is speaking out against efforts to muzzle voices of dissent in whatever form they take in this country. And he joins us now. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Lou, for having me.
You say the church that you belong to, the United Church of Christ, essentially is trying to silence the right of free speech. How so?
They formed this group, So We Might See. They got 7 major faiths. The Catholic bishops were involved, the United Methodists, Disciples of Christ, the Evangelical Lutherans, and a couple others. And the objective was to, as I read this, to crack down on talk radio. They wanted people to sign a petition here mentioning Rush Limbaugh, signifying that he was guilty of hate speech. I thought it was an interference with First Amendment rights, and it was an effort to stifle debate. They specifically mentioned you. They had a Drop Dobbs campaign. I write a column for the American... Exactly. I write a column for the American Spectator once a week. I looked into this. I found all of this information. I started to publish it. The Catholic bishops were hearing from Catholics. The Methodists were hearing from Methodists. The Methodists dropped out. The Catholic bishops wanted a statement of their own on the site. They did not want to specifically cite you or any commentator by name. And the Disciples of Christ stayed on, but they didn't want to sign on to the petition.
So I should cheer the Catholics? Give me a list of some people I want to cheer.
The Catholics, the Methodists, and the Disciples of Christ.
Can I say God bless them all?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
yes,
God bless them all. And God bless you for having the energy, the interest to get into this. What else did you find as you began this research?
They had campaigns. They were linking to campaigns to get you off the air, to get Glenn Beck off the air. This petition to get Rush Limbaugh to basically what they want to do is stigmatize Rush and all of talk radio. And my question was, I, for instance, am a former colleague of Mark Levin. Well, is Mark Levin next on this list? Is Laura Ingraham? Is it local talk radio? Dom Giordano in Philadelphia, or Quinn and Rose in Pittsburgh? Ray Richardson up in Maine. I mean, I've been on a lot of these shows. They're good people. They're good people. And we have to have, as my minister likes to say, that everyone's voice at the table is important. And it is important. And it doesn't make any difference whether you've got a television show or you're at somebody's kitchen table. You have a right to be heard.
One of the things that has struck me is the degree to which some of these groups misrepresent my position. I mean, I have said, for example, we'll take just illegal immigration, for example. I've said throughout that I consider illegal immigrants to be the only rational actors in the entire crisis. I've said I want a rational, effective, and humane immigration policy. I've said, however, that it's dependent, I've just offered a syllogism that's straightforward, that in order to meaningfully reform immigration reform, we have to, it seems, be able to control immigration itself, or it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And the only way to control immigration is to have control of our borders and our ports.
That's right.
And for that, I'm demonized, and some of these groups try to, well...
They do. And what concerns me is you had a story on earlier about Fort Hood. Mm-hmm. This is basically a PC virus, and it's coming into television studios, and they're going after talk radio. I think it's in the federal government, of the U.S. government, and it may have had an effect on this incident in Fort Hood. Hollywood, a Hollywood director, this 2012 film that's coming out, they destroy all sorts of things. The director tells the New York Times he didn't want to touch Mecca because he didn't want a fatwa declared on him. I mean, this fear, this political correctness has got to stop. And the first place, talk radio is one of the best places in America to have a conversation, a national conversation about things, to have these shows. And they have to continue in my church, which has a long history of standing for expanding human freedom and free speech, has made a mistake here. There are good people at the top of the church, but they made a mistake on this, and I felt we needed to say it.
And they recognize that they made a mistake.
Well, they're recognizing it, sort of. The Drop Dobbs campaign is off. The Glenn Beck campaign is off their websites. They still have this site up. They're still going at it. They have other issues. You can't discuss these other issues if you're saying Lou Dobbs, you can't talk about immigrants the way you talk about them, or Rush Limbaugh, you can't talk about this. I mean, this is what's wrong here. And you've got to be able to let people to go out and write the movies they want, have the talk shows they want, say what they want, let people call in. That's what's important.
You're speaking as though you think that America is a free country.
I like to think it is. And you know, it's our responsibility. It's not enough. I happen to live in central Pennsylvania, and you have this show here in New York. But, you know, everybody across the country has this responsibility. People in my own church have diverse opinions on all sorts of things in my local church. And boy, they're not afraid of making themselves heard. So this is our responsibility, and we have to do that. I have this column in the American Spectator, and so I try and make sure things get heard.
All right. Well, thank you for doing so. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Jeffrey Lord of the American Spectator. Thanks. Up next, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid vowing to pass health care legislation by year's end. Even some Democrats say that's not likely. We'll have the latest assessments in tonight's political panel. And we celebrate Veterans Day, a special look back at some of the courageous American heroes that we've been privileged to honor each week on this broadcast.